The Survivor Specialists Phil, John, and McKenna are back, and today we're doing another defining episode talking about Genevieve's defining episode. Episode number 4 of Survivor 47 is that blood in your hair, a line that is uttered not even on the tribe that she's on. And this was the breakout point for Genevieve. Up to this point, she was purple and blah, 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 and the overusing of the word purple. I'm going to do a pet peeves podcast at one point, and my number one Survivor pet peeve is the overuse of the word purple, because I'm rewatching Survivor Nicaragua right now for the Patreon. Purple Kelly is the only purple player in the history of the show until Chelsea shows up in 36. Purple Kelly is not a human being on that season. So I don't want to hear this purple tossing around, but Genevieve was considered purple. And then all of a sudden she woke up and this happened. And we get Teeny, who started posting on social media. And it was so funny. Teeny saying things like, I had to explain to her what mother meant and that serving a certain word was a good thing and like all of that. And I thought it was just absolutely awesome because Genevieve had no idea what the impact from this episode was going to be. This episode is probably why people are most excited for Genevieve to play again. She has other good moves throughout the season, but this was when it was like, wow, this is a woman who is playing the game and is playing it in a very, very original and different way. So excited to talk all about this episode and what ultimately is a 4-0 vote, right? Doesn't even feel like that exciting of a vote by the time it comes to it, but it's the way that Genevieve puts
the scramble of it all.
Yeah.
It's the stages of how that scramble goes once they questionably throw the challenge.
Yeah.
Because it's the Rome puzzle debacle. But yeah, you really kind of see how Genevieve is working. She's like okay with playing it low. And then all of a sudden she hears that she is the decoy for Saul. And that's when no, we're not doing that. No, thank you, Keyshawn. It's now going to be you. You think I'm weak? Well, I think you're weak. And then you really see her strategic prowess really ramp up here.
And I just want to say something, John, before you jump in, and I'm going to shut up and let the two of you talk most about this episode. But just the fact that we just did Cerie's episode, right? And as you can see, we're all in the exact same attire. So yes, this is coming out a couple days later. McKenna, did you change your buff? No, you're still wearing it.
I was wearing this one though.
Oh, you're wearing a different one. So now she's just wearing a different buff. I'm still in my Waxahachie shirt here, and John finally put his socks on. But we're here, and after talking about Cerie, you see the subtlety of the brilliance of how Cerie makes that move happen and how it's about knowing where everybody stands and what power everybody has. This move by Genevieve is very close to what that 3-2-1 vote is in Panama. So it's very interesting that these follow each other up. Obviously, we're just going chronological and then reverse chronological. So we didn't do that on purpose. It's just how it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, this episode is the birth of Mother Beef, right? Like this is the episode that sparked maybe one of the most fervent Survivor fandoms of the new era. This is a person who came onto our screens, who I was hyped on from the preseason just because it's the Canadian on the cast. And little did I know she would easily become my favorite player on this season because she demonstrated this strategic acumen that we've seen from other players in the new era, but we haven't seen it executed the way that Genevieve is able to do it here. And sure, there are arguments you can make for other episodes being her most defining episode. Maybe like you have Operation Italy, you have the episode where she realizes, oh wait, I can't be a robot. Maybe I need to actually be a person and make these connections with people too. Maybe that is a strength in the game and not a weakness. But this is the point where she decides, I'm going to be the calculated robot.
Yeah,
I am going to get rid of my emotions, this connection I have made with Keyshawn that I thought was a big strength in this game. I'm going to rather take this person who is irking people in Rome, but isn't doing anything against me. Yes, he's a little chaotic, but I can kind of control him and run away with the game, creating arguably like one of the weirdest sequences in Survivor when we get the flashback with all the like Keyshawn inner cuts and things that are being said. But it's just, this is a player who was almost invisible in the season before and then turns out to be one of the greatest of the new era.
Yeah. And the way she also realizes, like you were saying, like she has Rome who is rubbing a bunch of people the wrong way, but not her. But she also realizes this and knows I might have to cut him soon. Is it now? Is it later? But I know that he is a problem for other people, and I don't want his problematicness to be a problem that people have with me. So she's also aware of her relationship with Rome and that it's not long lasting because he is this polarizing character. So to be able to manipulate that relationship also and knowing that it has a expiration date is really interesting to watch too.
Well, and she convinces Rome to play that steal a vote in this
Mhm.
episode too, which is huge because it removes that power that Rome had. And Rome didn't need to play this. If he just goes up and votes normal, it's a 3-2 vote. But she's able to convince him that this is the best thing. And I think Rome ends up saying something in like future episodes, or maybe it was in post-game press, but he essentially said, like, everybody knew I had it. It wasn't like good for me
Yeah.
to hold on to at this point. But when I sit there and I see how that goes, also what Genevieve's able to do is go back to Teeny after this and say, we're still good. It's okay. Keyshawn threw my name out, and that scared me. And coming out of this episode, going into this episode, it felt like, is Genevieve going to be the next boot? We don't really know where she stands with anybody. I don't know what's going on. Coming out of this episode, still an okay relationship with Teeny because Teeny has nowhere else to turn anyway. Has a great relationship with Saul, has a great relationship with Rome. She's in a good spot. You know, she's coming out of this. She improved her position, which is the opposite of the argument we make when Saul goes home. When Saul goes home, it feels like it was a step back, and we're all amazed that Genevieve makes it another 4 boots before she ultimately goes home. But in this one, it's like, whoa, she just took total control of the tribe and can't be voted out unless there's a swap before the merge now. Is she's in the 3 of the 4, she's in the 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
She's golden.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the subtlety in Genevieve's game comes out at the very beginning of this episode. And it's so subtle, you might not even notice it because you might not even notice she's the one who says it. As soon as they get back to camp here, who is it who says, Saul, how are you doing? It's Genevieve. Genevieve's immediately checking in on Saul as soon as they get to camp because Saul is blindsided by the Asia boot. And all of a sudden, Teeny's voted for Saul, which was not part of the plan. But Genevieve's calm. She's collected about it. And her immediate reaction is, I'm going to make sure this person that we just blindsided is still good with me.
Yeah, and she's also making these roads with Saul, like before the immunity challenge. She's talking with him, they're having moments, and she's really either repairing a relationship or just really strengthening a new bond with Saul, because Saul even tells her, like, if I survive this, I'm locked in with you. Like, you and me are going to the end. So getting Saul on your side just in general in this tribe was really amazing after what happened with the last vote.
We're obviously such an instant gratification fan base, right? Every episode we sit here, we dissect it. I do 3 episodes a week now, right? The recap, digging deeper, predictions and power rankings, where we talk about these episodes to death. Rob's doing the same thing. And the after show that I do on Patreon. Exactly. Rob's doing the same thing. Everybody in this community who has a podcast is probably doing more than 1 episode a week at this point. We're so instant gratification based that when you watch those first 3 episodes, everybody said, Survivor doesn't know how to edit women. Here we go again, under-edited, blah, blah, blah. You know, we just scream at the cloud because we can't help ourselves. 3 confessionals in 3 episodes. Why'd they even bother putting her on? But does this episode hit as hard? Does Genevieve as a character hit as hard if Genevieve's in more stuff before this episode? Or is this kind of the slow build we needed? And this is truly the intro we needed, because after this, Genevieve dominates.
I think maybe 5 or 6 confessionals in 3 episodes would be okay. Like, I don't think we need 3 confessionals in 3 episodes. Maybe just like one more an episode, because she really was non-existent, even in the first half of this one. And
Yeah,
she
the
makes
first half
this
of this one,
move.
she's nowhere to be found too. I know. And then what's so funny is then it becomes Genevieve's season, it feels like. It's Genevieve,
Yeah.
Rachel, and Sam and Andy. It's those 4 people the rest of the season.
True.
It is, and I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that we're in the new era. We have these prolonged episodes, and we spend so much time with all the other tribes at the same time, right? Like Survivor has spent so much time editing these new era seasons with the 90 minutes to make sure we see what's happening at all 3 tribes as much as possible before a challenge, so we don't really get the hints like we used to get in previous seasons of Survivor of who was going to win the immunity challenge and who's going to tribal council. So I think there's a casualty of that. I think you just also had some pretty exciting things happening in those first couple of episodes that made it so that what was going on Lavo didn't really matter as much as the other 2 tribes. So there wasn't really a reason to show Genevieve, especially when you had the character of Rome kind of taking all the focus on the tribe.
Well, let me push back on that like Emily Flippin real quick. Teeny, 13 confessionals in the first 3 episodes. Rome, 21 confessionals in the first 3
Yeah,
episodes.
Rome was stealing the spotlight here.
Asia with 20. So Asia, Rome, and Teeny all had at least 13 between the 3 of them. That's 54 confessionals, right?
Like 3 more, 1 from each of them could have gone to Genevieve.
But are you ready for this? Keyshawn, 6. Saul, 4. Genevieve, 3. So it was being dominated by 3 players. And I do also wonder, obviously this is the Genevieve episode, but I wonder with Teeny, what was it that Survivor felt that they were getting with Teeny that they weren't getting with Genevieve? Because Genevieve getting 3 while Teeny had 13, and then seeing kind of the fan reaction to the 2 of those players as the season progresses. Teeny was the one who felt like he kept stumbling over himself over and over and over and over again. And then here's Genevieve who comes out and says, hi, I'm going to dominate the second half of this game. And everybody goes, what the hell?
I think because of the Asia boot is why they focused on Teeny, because of his relationship with Asia, and since Asia goes out so early. But anywho, it's
Teeny doesn't have a vote in this episode, which is also huge for Genevieve. I know I've already kind of said that, but that is huge for Genevieve, that Genevieve's not asking Teeny, go and turn on your closest ally. Go and ruin this relationship. That's not what Genevieve's asking. Genevieve gets to say, I left you out. That was the best thing I could do because I didn't want you to panic. I didn't want you to feel guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that is where Genevieve's strengths come from, right? And it's very similar to what we were talking about with Suri. Genevieve's ability to realize social hierarchy, realize how everyone is reacting to people, realize her own relationships with people, and leverage those to make strategic moves. I think a lot of the reason why the fan base is so excited to see Genevieve play again is, again, we have this full season arc of Genevieve is this massive strategist who gets rid of emotion, but at the end of the season, we're like, oh, well, maybe I need my emotions to play the game. And we're excited to see how Genevieve brings that into a new season where, people were talking pretty highly about her just before going out there. So it'll be interesting to see how she can maneuver in a situation where everyone is aware of her strategic acumen.
Go ahead, McKenna.
One thing that we haven't talked about is the fact that she got 2 enemies who work together for a vote. And in a vote that was so clear that Rome could have got his enemy out, he used the extra vote and saved Saul.
So there is this feeling that Genevieve is one of the biggest threats coming into this season. And I said to myself, well, is that true? Is it not? Whatever mistakes. But when you think about what you just said right there, McKenna, her social acumen is out of control. What she is able to do from a social standpoint is crazy. And so I do think it puts her on that level of a Suri. Now, that might sound crazy, but Suri's played 4 times. We've seen so much of it. Genevieve is the new era Suri at this point because you've seen what she's able to accomplish by pitting Rome and Saul together. That's insanity. Those 2 people have nothing in common, nothing at all. And yet they get along because they have to, because Genevieve convinces them it's the right idea. After Saul is yelling at Rome, can you please get away from me? And Rome says, no, I don't have to. I mean, it's insanity to think of that. And if somebody can pull that off like Genevieve can, she deserves to have the target on her back that she has coming into this season. She probably is a bigger threat than Dee or Kyle coming into this season.
And she even she probably had to say something to Rome where Rome comes up to Saul and apologizes. Rome apologizes again at tribal council. And it's like, Genevieve, I think, is really pushing Rome to make amends with Saul because they need Saul just in case. So if Rome makes, even if it's fake amends with Saul, I think Genevieve is the real push to show Rome, hey, this ultimatum was not the best thing.
Yeah.
And so maybe you apologize for your language or how harsh you were in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think Genevieve's ability to bring these two people together is probably the most impressive feat she has in this entire season. Because, like you said, they were literally yelling at each other previously on that apology from Rome is like the fakest apology I have ever heard in my entire life. But it's still enough to bring these two people together to get out someone else. And it's that thought process from Genevieve that Keyshawn is actually a bigger threat to her because Keyshawn is willing to put her name out there as the decoy vote. That means she's someone you can sacrifice, right? You don't put out someone's name as a decoy vote unless you're okay with that person going.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in an era where we have idols everywhere.
Yeah.
And
yes, shot in the dark.
And shot in the dark. And yes, there's some control in this episode with Rome steal a vote, making it so that whoever you do end up targeting, you can get rid of their shot in the dark. But an idol was just played, which means an idol could be replanted. And yeah, Rome's out here babysitting Saul to make sure that he doesn't find it. But things can happen, right? At some point, Rome has to go give a confessional, and Saul could go look for an idol. That is how Survivor works sometimes.
Yeah.
And Genevieve still takes that and realizes, okay, if I am expendable to this person, maybe they're not so good for my long-term plans. Maybe they are someone who I can't trust moving forward if there is a swap, if we do get to a merge, because they're already willing to cut me loose 4 votes into this game.
And once Keyshawn's name is read out and Jeff says, you're voted out, Keyshawn is like shook that Genevieve would do that to him and is like, I would have never done that to you. He's just really like hurt by what Genevieve did. But like to your guys' point of you have to think that she's expendable if you're throwing her name out as a decoy.
I love Keyshawn though. I feel like if they were going to do a second chance type season, he's one of the mergers from the new era who should get that consideration. Because also, like, let's say Genevieve has a great run on 50. It's an uphill battle for her, but let's say she has a great run on 50. Keyshawn can say, I was the first victim of Genevieve. Give me some credit. I mean, but seriously, you think Varner and Kimmy got back on the show because of the we told you about the vote thing? You know what I mean? And the fact that they are able to get back because of that, Keyshawn easily should be able to get on the show because it's like I was the first victim of the best player of the new era. And I think Will and we did our top 25 players of the new era. I think we did it after season 46. We had Jesse higher than a lot of the winners. I think we'd have Genevieve higher than a lot of the winners too. So Keyshawn is somebody who I definitely hope is still in consideration because I feel like he was playing a legitimate game of Survivor.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have to throw somebody's name out there. He just, he made the mistake of letting get back to Genevieve and not realizing how good of a player Genevieve truly was.
Yeah. And not that you want to have your own name in circulation, but it provides trust if you do, and your plan is like foolproof and you trust your people. So not saying he should have thrown his own name out there, but throwing Genevieve's was not the right choice.
Well, Genevieve also took opportunity here, right? Because originally the plan was, okay, we'll go for Saul. And then Keyshawn's like, nah, maybe we should go for Rome.
Right.
And then Genevieve's name gets out there as the decoy and it gets back to Genevieve and she starts analyzing the entire situation. And there's enough chaos going on that she can kind of change the way it works. The fact that she's even able to get Saul and Rome sitting together to reconcile at all and that's not putting off red flags in Keyshawn, is impressive.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I just have one concern about Genevieve when it comes to this vote, and it's like, is she too eager to make a move? Like in this instance, is she too, okay, this is what I have to do for me? We were talking about Suri and how she frames everything as moves for bettering for other people. This is a move that clearly benefits Genevieve the most here and doesn't really benefit the tribe as a whole.
Yes and no, though, because Keyshawn was quick to throw my name out, and we're supposed to be an alliance. Who's to say it's not going to be you next? So if you back me on this vote for Keyshawn, then he won't get the opportunity to throw your name out.
Yeah.
It could be something like you see this behavior, it could be a pattern.
James Jones always says that once somebody votes for you or says they're going to vote for you, it's very hard to ever get that back. And I feel like in this situation, once Genevieve hears that, she has to make this move. But I do think that this was the start of showing how Genevieve was going to play. She's subtle and she's very manipulative. She's also very aggressive, though.
Yes.
And she is a much more aggressive player than people probably give her credit for, because she will do what she has to do to become powerful. She just does it in a more subtle way, but she won't just sit there and say, okay, fine. Like, you know, you watch some seasons and they say, well, look, like we got a 5-person alliance. I might as well just wait a little bit. There's no reason to make something happen. Genevieve's not going to be that type of player. If something feels off to her, she's going to keep going. And that could be beneficial to her in 50 because she might be able to strike when somebody else is on their heels.
Agreed.
And on top of that, it makes her more entertaining. Right?
Yeah.
Like we as a fan base like aggressive players. When you two were talking to Miles about the AU versus the world, he specifically said, you want players out there who are just going for it the entire time. And Genevieve is someone we know is going to do that. And that's why having her back on 50, she was a no-brainer for this cast. If you're bringing when they were talking about the 50 cast as having less than 12 new era players on it, it was still a question of, okay, but Genevieve's one of them, right? Yeah. And Genevieve was a player that people kind of thought might not come back to Survivor.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting to see what she'll bring to an all-star season with this caliber of player around her.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it then for this defining episode for Genevieve. So next time we're going to be talking Ozzy. And for Ozzy, again, we're going only with the first season. So we're going with Cook Islands episode number 2, Dire Strengths and Dead Weight. We are going with the Billy Garcia boot. Because you know what? It honestly does make sense here for Ozzy. It really does. So that's what we're going to be diving into with him. And then we'll be coming back to the new era to talk about Charlie. Charlie will be the first person we're going to do from 46. If we have multiple people from the same season, we're doing it based on who finished better goes first. So Charlie will be first, then Q, then Tiffany for 46 when we get to those. So Ozzy next, though. So thank you all so much for listening. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you want more content, patreon.com/thespecialist. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time.